Higher diesel prices and scarcity in South America, the close of corn and soybeans at the week of Good Friday, and yet we're going to discuss the crop conditions in South America right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. Jerry, we have had a shorter week with the Good Friday and Easter, and the markets have closed with corn under 450 for the futures and the soybeans under 12. But it seems that we are going to get soybeans over $12 a bushel at some point.
Well, I would think that logic makes sense here, considering the fact that uh, this past week we were chopping back and forth. We had our quarterly stocks reports and that, and they were somewhat uh, supportive, maybe, and the bean side of things a little bit, while they were, I think, confusing for many people here on the corn side. We really had a number here of another 200 million strong demand during the winter quarter, which totals up to virtually 600 million increase here in the first half of the year in the U.S. And so that being said, uh, we're anticipating some expansion of feed demand, but we don't have the animals out here for that kind of number. So it really comes back to a lot of people pointing to the reality that last year's corn crop was overestimated. But unfortunately, that statistic will not be a big benefit potentially to us until later in the year, at least after the June crop stocks report, and not to here in the immediate future. From there, definitely this week. Lots of different confusing factors in the Mideast, from the standpoint of uh, various events here. President Trump had a pre-holiday speech, which really didn't seem to provide any new perspective on his approach here, other than the fact he wants his allies in Europe and around the world to be a bigger part of this uh, military action in the Mid East. And so, that being said, he that didn't really provide a lot of things. But the one thing that did happen here late this week and yesterday was a couple more planes being shot down, uh, involved in uh, military action over Iran. So, that being said, this market's still going to be pretty volatile, I think, in after the weekend and early next week, because of the conflict in the Mideast is definitely not settled by any means, despite the president thinking it's winding down here in the next few, well, he keeps saying the next few weeks. Hopefully that is the case.
Yes, but this war has generated a lot of negative economic consequences, especially when it comes to higher fuel prices. And in South America, we have seen, especially in Brazil, we have had several municipalities reporting by the end of harvest difficulties on getting diesel.
Definitely, South America, along with high prices, they're just having access to being able to have fuel to ship the grain, move around, things like that, on the basic stuff. And yes, I've heard some of those same projections, or even some current shortages down there that suggests that's an issue that's uh, not going to go away down in Brazil. I haven't heard as much in Argentina, but in general here, the world costs for energy, which permeates everything from agriculture to manufacturing to everything else, and transportation, has made a huge jump here because of the uh, higher crude oil prices in the Mideast. Actually, we've been staying below 100 until late this week. Actually, I think it went up over to 110. I think we spiked to 120 right when this thing started, but we pushed up into the 110 area, and I think that's another surprise factor why the grains weren't as reactive. I think it's just the old game that in the grains was that it's better to be on the sidelines. You never know what's going to happen, and they'll come roaring back thinking about the energy prices and military actions and things like that going into next week after the holiday.
Yes, and I did mention the possibility of getting the soybean prices beyond $12, and I think the farmers will need that to compensate for this higher fuel.
Oh, I don't doubt that there's some logic of having soybean prices above $12. Unfortunately, the we sunk with them what 6, 8 weeks ago, maybe even closer to 2 months ago, or excuse me, and that and technicals uh, could be quite dramatic if we do go above 12. But I think producers have to consider those prices as uh, right now. South America's prospects have improved in Argentina this last week because of rains that hit in Buenos Aires and things of that nature, and that maybe not so much in La Pampas. Those two had been on the dry side, and that Cordoba and Santa Fe have been generally better off this season on output. So in general, there's an anticipation that those two, excuse me, Argentina is going to be able to kind of hold its numbers or maybe even slightly improve. Not much expectations and changes in Brazil at this point. We're pretty well winding down. Second crop corn, though, is always vulnerable in Brazil. At this point, there seems to be some adequate moisture near term. But if things start to really shut off in excuse me, in Brazil here, uh, mid this month and really turn dry, it could in because when you have their best crops down there, the moisture kind of continues all the way into mid-May and that, and we'll see if that is the case. But second crop corn in Brazil is the one that could have some dynamic
Yes, at
things.
least in the state of Paraná, there is a report saying that right now, at this moment, 91% of the crop is considered under good condition, but that is only the state of Paraná. We could we have to see Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul as well to have a better picture of what's going to happen and see the developments over the next month.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Mato Grosso del Sol is the one. Excuse me, Mato Grosso is the one that has the dynamic expansion in second crop corn every year, and so it really does. If interestingly enough, is that the rains in Brazil retreat northward towards the Amazon, and if they make a pretty aggressive pullback here. Over the next month and turn into, their dry season, that could have a dynamic effect on what their output of corn might be. At this point, the projections from the USDA, I don't see has got a lot of changes happening there. On their numbers, they're still going to be projecting. They had 180 million and 132 million on corn. Uh, uh, on so that being said, uh, those numbers aren't there. Even Argentina's numbers are not, even with the rain recently, they're not sure the USDA is going to jump and make big changes. But right now, at least, these upcoming numbers at the end of the week aren't going to be much. The numbers we had from stocks reports, or excuse me, from the quarterly stocks reports were the ones that had the interesting numbers there about kind of unsustainable uh, lower numbers uh, on corn numbers, which many people in the trade really kind of projected some USDA adjustments downward in last year's corn numbers. I think 2 million, 2 bushels of acres there. It could be as high as three. That's a big deal. Uh, Now, does that mean that our 2.1 carryover stock is going to end up going 1.5? No, it'll probably take us down 1/9 or something, going the right direction, but it puts things more vulnerable at the coming growing season as we look into these numbers going longer term. But right now, South American weather and the U.S. Spring planting situations, which we had some pretty heavy rains here in the Midwest over the weekend, or late this week and coming into this weekend, and that's going to keep our planting statistics off to a slow start this spring.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Take care and have a good holiday.